Hello, this is Anthony. Let's walk and talk. So today we're going to talk about expectations. Expectations in love, expectations in friendships, expectations in life, and why expectations actually create more challenges as well as can create more damage in your life. You see, I think as you begin to understand the way life works, as you begin to understand the universe and life, just how it operates, how things operate in it, how you become more rooted and grounded in it. I'll sit here in this beautiful day. You begin to understand that little ways that the ego uses in order for it to continue to give you that illusion of separation, and then give you that illusion, in some cases, of hopelessness. And here's what I mean by that. To me, once you're able to shed expectation, once you're able to begin to better understand that the flow of life isn't always going to look the way you think or desire for it to look, and then you begin to accept that flow of life versus to have expectations on what that flow of life should look like, suddenly the world opens up. I mean, it just magically opens up for you. And what I mean by that is the fact that suddenly you become less disappointed about things. Suddenly life becomes more of an adventure, more of a mystery, more of a, for lack of a better word, a beautiful orchestra where all the instruments are playing together. It becomes more of that. And in becoming more of that, it can create much more peace and harmony in one's life. I'll give you an example. The ego uses expectation, and it creates a lot of let's call them ways that you should interact in life, things that you feel like you deserve, things like you feel like you accept. It creates these steps in order to project forward what it wants your life to look like. And there's nothing wrong with that, other than the fact that when people begin to have expectations, what happens is when a person, like in a relationship or a friendship or even a work outcome, doesn't meet their expectation, and suddenly you go from harmony to strife. Suddenly you go from alignment to chaos. And when you understand that, then you understand that by having that expectation, what you're actually doing is you're actually creating the possibility for the life to throw you that curveball. Now, I'm not saying that when you that you should go through life and like with friendships and relationships, you shouldn't have boundaries. Of course you have boundaries, but boundaries are different than expectations. You see, boundaries are more for me, come from that aspect of this is what I am willing and this is what I am not willing to accept. And by setting that boundary, what happens is you create an opportunity for another being, let's say for a romantic partner, to be able to love you in a manner in which you desire. Now, that doesn't create an expectation, because what happens is when you set a boundary, that person may meet your boundaries, but they may not meet your boundaries in the way that you expect them to. But at the end of the day, it's important to understand that, are they respecting the boundary? Not are they meeting the boundary in the way that you choose for them to meet? Having that expectation of this is what this should look like to me. I think it's important to understand this because, again, in relationships especially, but just in life in general, the more we have expectations of things, the more we create the opportunity for chaos. Now, chaos in and of itself, I would not say is a bad thing, but chaos is generally something most people don't enjoy. Some people thrive better in chaos because they've been programmed to exist in chaos. But the problem with chaos is chaos doesn't create peace. Peace comes out of alignment. And you might say alignment is order. I wouldn't necessarily say alignment is necessarily order, but I would say that alignment is certainly being in your authentic self and flowing with life and flowing with what is presented to you. You see, when you don't have the expectations, whatever comes your way doesn't really necessarily surprise you, good or bad. It just is. You stop judging things as a good or a bad. You start seeing the lesson that comes up in everything around you. The problem is when you have expectations, what you're essentially telling the universe is, this is what I want the lesson to look like. Well, if you've ever gone to school, and pretty much everyone has, then the thing about that is you understand that you can prepare for instance, an exam all you want. But if you don't prepare with the right material, the exam is not going to go well. You're going to fail the exam. And the problem is that when you set an expectation, what you're actually doing is you're saying, I am prepared for the exam in this way. But then generally speaking, that's not how the universe works. The universe wants you to learn certain lessons. You came here to have certain experiences and to learn certain lessons. And what you're trying to do is bypass those lessons for something that you feel like your ego feels like you're more willing to understand and accept. But that is not where evolution and growth comes from. Evolution and growth comes from understanding you're not a victim, understanding that this is like a big movie or play, and understanding that in that you have a role, and that by understanding your role and who you are, and also understanding that the play is not necessarily going to go in the manner in which you choose, you are better able to deal with the things that pop up that create chaos. You're better able to deal with the instances where a friend doesn't meet your needs or a partner doesn't meet your needs, and then you understand that in some cases that's the moment for you to meet your needs. You see, that's the moment where you're meant to meet your own needs. That's the moment where you're meant to exist in a space where, in truth, you understand that you're whole and complete. And in truth, our interactions with other beings end up being, in most cases, and we've talked about this in a past video, either a mirror of self or a projection from their self. So you're living in a reflection and projection type of existence. And these relationships just help you to see that mirroring of what's inside of you back to you, which is why a lot of times when someone projects onto you, it doesn't necessarily trigger you in the same manner. But when someone mirrors something back to you, you can get triggered pretty easily. Again, going into these connections and relationships and tests without expectation, yet with the understanding that you're here to flow with life, and these things come up for a purpose, and these things come up to help you to better understand self, better grow, and better evolve to become the best version of self on this plane. It really, not having expectations, all of a sudden creates so much more opportunity for you. It creates so much more peace for you. It can create so much more harmony for you. You know, I think that when I've first started understanding this for self, what it did for me is it actually started to show me a lot of things in myself that I felt deficient in. It showed me a lot of things in self where I was trying to control life. I was trying to control the flow of life. I was trying to control the environment around me. And you know, when you get into that projection of trying to control things around you, usually the life is, or the universe is going to show you how little in control you are. So the more you can better understand that expectation is a way that ego tries to manipulate and control life and the universe around you, the better you can understand why it's important to resist that desire for expectation. The other thing too is when we talk about expectation, it's not always negative. Remember, sometimes you expect a good result and that expectation prevents you from seeing the great or amazing result that happens. And then that's when we usually find ourselves in more gratitude, but your gratitude is coming from the external, not the internal. So what say you? How do you feel about expectations? Does that message resonate with you? Do you understand why creating expectations can also create more difficulty for you in life? As always, if you enjoy this message, please like, share, and subscribe. I am truly grateful. And until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. I hope you have the most amazing day.